Instructions how to make a bulk invoice. I know you've already done this quite a few times. Thought though it might be nice to have it in video format for you or maybe your staff. So to start, open the big invoice file that I keep. This is just an accumulation of all the invoices. I usually have it by year and then maybe 2 or 3 files per year, with like 4 months of invoices in them. So this is my second version for the year. I'm going to find the most current bulk that I've already submitted. I'm going to make a copy. My invoices increased by 10. So you can see the most current one was 330, so it's going to be 340. So I renamed the tab, and now I need to update the invoice number, PO number, invoice date, and service date. So the PO number comes from the email, the list from the client. If you open up the PDF, it's on the top right. So if I go PDF and it's 179887. 179887, 18340. Service date is just the week it's applicable for. So 13 to 19 was the prior week. This is going to be 20 to 26. The invoice date is the date the client receives the invoice, so they're not going to get it till tomorrow, the 28th. So that's what I'm going to put. All right. I think that's step 1. Step 2. Delete the following columns in the invoice tab you just created. Property ID, address, city, zip, service date. Remove the highlights. So I'm going to remove the highlights first. Control-Shift down, Control-Shift right, unhighlight, okay? And then it said to delete the columns of information, property, address, city, zip. Control-Shift down, delete, service date. Control-Shift, there's some gaps, so you got to keep hitting down. One too many. Delete. All right. Open the invoice from the lead terminator. Copy and paste the bulk values we just deleted from his invoice. He basically uses the reconciliation that I send. He just puts the price on the right-hand side and the date of service. Oops. Okay. So, one thing to note, we can't service any homes that are occupied. So, my sub will highlight here in yellow any homes which we did not service because they were occupied. So you'll notice there's a date, that's the date we drove by it, but no price. Okay? So what that means, I copy in one set of this data and I retain the formatting from this tab, even though it doesn't match, so I can easily identify the properties he didn't get. So it'll make sense in a second. So first of all, I'm trying to think here, what's the best thing? I'll just finish. So let me get the service dates, which go as well. They're just in a different column, which is why I didn't copy it all at once. And see, that's the same number formatting. So what I need to do is, the ones that are yellow should not have a price. Everything else should have a price. And for now, I'm just going to assume everything is priced. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of rambling. I'd filter the yellows first, and then I would delete anything in yellow. That makes sense, right? And then it's also going to say on the instructions, it's the next step. For any homes not serviced, he'll highlight yellow, tick mark these properties on the right-hand side, and create a tick mark legend. Refer to prior tick mark legends for language. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to copy this A, and that's the tick mark I'm talking about, and that matches here, tick mark legend. Please note, upon arriving, these properties were either occupied or had work crews on site, so we didn't service. All right? So every other thing should be priced. So this should be priced. And then the reason why this stops and this keeps going, in the prior weeks we had more yards. So I'm going to delete that. So for now, I'm just going to Calibri Light 18. So I'm going to say Calibri, actually Calibri Light 18. I'm going to remove those gross. And I'm going to get rid of the yellow highlights. So if I filter here by blanks, I hope the only thing that's blank is the yellow highlight. I'm sorry, is a tick mark A with no amount. Okay. So this 110, actually I won't even get there. So another thing to note is I have 11 townhomes. So for the 11 townhomes, I charge $32.48. The 11 townhomes are Soledad Drive and Galante Lane. So I always double check and make sure these are aligned right, and I just copy these here. So everything else should be $36.95. You can see here these two are $32.48, so they should be 36 as well. So if I do a quick check, the only 30 should be those 11 yards. So that's good. Okay. So I think we're good here. Tick mark any other price variations. So for overgrown yards, I charge extra. I usually add 18% to the subcontractor price. In these cases, we have to submit before and after pictures. These are uploaded to Dropbox. Each property has its own folder. I utilize Snippet. I paste before and after pictures into the invoice. I use the same vantage point when I can, and I format all pictures with a thin black border. So that's what we're going to do, because I noted on Don's invoice here, there's 140 yards, but there's only 139 yards on the purchase order. So that means, see that 139? So that means there's one more yard. Usually Don will put his ad hoc or jobs that are not bulk but just other jobs on the very end. So notice here there's no date in this column, which is add. So I know that I was requested to do this yard even though it wasn't on the invoice. And you'll notice it's at 75 bucks. So I usually say what's 75 times 18% margin? So 88 bucks. I'm going to round to $90, and that's what I'm going to charge American Homes for that yard. So I'm going to say that was 408 Magnolia, which is here. That should be $90. This is the sales tax column, so that's 0.825 of $90. I always just type it in because the formulas get funky sometimes, and then I'm just going to add these two. Okay? This property was last week's 110 variation. I'm going to steal this tick mark for this $90 one. And I'm going to say this was requested to be serviced by Amber McDaniel, and her title is Operations Support Coordinator. I know that there no longer is a back padlock, so I'm actually going to change A to C. I'm going to delete that. I'm sorry, change B to C. So that tick mark corresponds there. The A's correspond. And I think, just want to make sure there's no errant tick marks like this or like this or like this. Why are these errant? Because they're prior tick marks that just were rolled over when I made a copy of the tab. So there should only be, I think, 6 tick mark A's, which are all the top. 7. Let's see how many Dawn did in service. 7, so we're good. And then the 1B. Wherever that went. Alright, so I'm going to do a reconciliation real quick, and then I'm going to stop this one, and I'm going to do a part 2 just to get the pictures in, and we'll be done. So the original amount of the PO comes from the PDF. It's on the very bottom. 547728. 547728. And then there were 7 yards not serviced. So that's 7. Can't type. 7 times negative 240. All right. 7 times negative 40. That's an old tick mark. And then I'm going to add requested yard. And that's tick mark B. And I'm just going to do the 9743. Oops. So 529471. That is the reconciliation. So let's check mark these, and then I'm going to stop the tape. Tick marked any other price variations. Created a reconciliation on the bottom. In between, well, I guess it's after the tick mark legend. I'll just delete that. Start with the original PO, detail variations. I've also listed the 11 Denton townhomes here for you. So I'll send you this file. You can have them. And I made sure that those are right. What we didn't do that goes in this step is I need to put the before and after pictures in. I think though it'll take a little time, so I know I'm going to run out of time.